Welcome, everybody. It is the Sabotage Everything podcast. We're contributing to the scene and giving back to our part of the wrestling world. This is episode 1. This is living proof that things do make it out of the group chat, or in our case, the Burger Place meeting that we had to set this all up. My name is Lyle, and of course, before we get into all of the breakdowns of what we think this industry should look like in this part of the world, we got to introduce ourselves. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Connors, to go first.
Well, I am Matt Connors, also known as the Black Wing, one half of Sabotage and co-owner of North Pro Canadian Wrestling.
And over to you, Justin.
I am Justin Newhook, the Newfoundland Nightmare, one half of Sabotage and co-owner of North Pro Canadian Wrestling.
And my name is Lyle. I truly, just at the base of it, am just a huge wrestling fan who's lucky enough to work in some cool places. So now I know how to make podcasts. So here we sit. I am new to North Pro Wrestling, and that's why I'm very excited to ask all of the questions about your some decade now as a tag team, I believe it's been. I was checking cagematch.com, and I believe Sabotage goes all the way back to the year of our Lord 2016, when I was just 20 years old. Feels like a lifetime ago. And the scene in the Maritimes, which is all where we're all located. You said you're the Newfoundland Nightmare. We're recording in New Brunswick right now. That's, I think, one of the big leg ups we have here. I feel like we're recording from a remote island somewhere that people just don't know about.
Yeah.
So there's a whole scene here that people are just not familiar with. So I guess we're going to start out with all over the Maritimes. You guys have wrestled countless tag team titles, personal accolades. What originally led to the formation of Sabotage? Before we get into North Pro Wrestling, you guys in wrestling, how did this all come to be? How long were you guys wrestling before you became Sabotage? And what was kind of the driving force behind the passion? Because around here, it's not easy.
I started in 2014 after I came back from deployment. I did my training and I wrestled in singles for about a year, maybe 12 matches tops as a singles wrestler. And then throughout that time met Connors when a wrestling ring got rented out for a music video. I showed up in my military uniform. We seen each other, met each other. There was a bunch of other people around. Shook everybody's hands, shook his hand, and then just okay. And it just from there on in, it was a best friendship. Sometimes it doesn't need a lot of time to just.
Connors, I'm interested. Do you see it the same way, or is this a one-sided friendship? Because that sounds like a little bit, but that often is only.
I don't even know why I'm here right now.
One of the people.
I don't know why I'm here. I'm just a guy that plugs stuff in and turns the volume up. No, it's definitely reciprocal. As soon as we locked hands, man, I knew there was just something, I don't know, you really can't even put words to it. It was just like a connection that was just like, bang, I've known this guy forever, but I've never met him before. And I think
that's what makes a good wrestling tag team too, right? Is that out of the ring chemistry. But it's one thing to be, tag team wrestlers for over a decade. You guys have done shows, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, here in New Brunswick. The big thing for me that I'm very interested to know is obviously we're here under the banner of North Pro. You guys just took the reins of North Pro. It's been about a year, I think, since you guys took the keys. Yeah. How has the philosophy changed, from tag team partners to business partners? A lot of people in this industry talk about having their own company. They sit there at, the tables with their buddies and, when we have the books, when we have the keys, things are going to be different. How does the philosophy and the team dynamic change? You guys are still taking bookings for the most part. I know, Justin, you're still taking bookings and stuff like that. But how does the tag teamness go from, grabbing onto a tag rope and doing the comeback spot to now we have to book a show?
Nothing's changed.
No, it's literally like waiting for a hot tag, someone's taking you.
we're one and the same. We're exact same person in most regard, but in the same breath, we both know exactly what needs to get done to get the job done. That's what we've done the entire time as a tag team. So all these talks, like you said, of us wanting to have a show or run what we do if we run a show, literally the second that we took over, we just started implementing all the things that we wanted to do. And it wasn't just like the rest of our friendship for the past 10, 11 years. It just flows. It just makes sense. So when an idea comes up, most times it's get out of our head for the other one is saying, because like the other one messages around the same time that we were thinking it. So is not much. There's been some growing pains because like owning a company and having to do like the little things that we didn't have to take care of before, but it's as a partnership, nothing's changed.
No, we just know what needs to be done. Yeah, basically, like it's super easy, man. Like the only thing I was ever nervous about was, actually, I don't even know what I was nervous about, because I always got the nerves of we've been wrestling for this long, and every match I still have those nerves, but I still have that type of nervousness for running a company just because I care. Like, I want it to be so good. I just want it to be so good. Like, every match we've had, I've wanted it just to be so good. Like, I don't want to half-ass anything, because especially now where we're presenting a stage for like the new up and coming talent, and I just want it to be so good. Like, give them the stage that we always wanted, just could never actually make ourselves. You know what I mean?
And that comes to the crux of the issue, right? Is our geographic location does not bode well for trying to make this kind of a business venture work. Like, in New Brunswick, of course, there is wrestling history, just like there is everywhere. Wrestling is all over the planet. Every little corner of everywhere has wrestling fandoms, wrestling industry, wrestling stories. But really, for the longest time, it was Grand Prix wrestling, which dates all the way back to the 60s. It was huge at its time. It had some local names, the Killer Carl Kroops, the Leo Burks, the Cuban Assassins of the day. At one point, it was very much like an NWA. They did have Ric Flair and the Great Muta appearing there. But other than that, for a long time, especially when I was a kid, growing up as a wrestling fan in this part of the world, there wasn't a lot to sink your teeth into. There really wasn't. It wasn't like it is now, which every city kind of has its own territory again. Like, you do have people in Prince Edward Island. You do have North Pro, which has its own built-in. It's got a venue. You guys have dedicated fan base, a clear path. It almost seems like it's on the come up around here. Am I right or am I wrong there? Because for a long time it seemed kind of stuck in that 1980s kind of territorial feel that it was back when it was Grand Prix. But if you look at it even 6 years ago to today, the difference is pretty crazy.
Yeah, so if honestly, coming from Newfoundland, I only seen 2 independent wrestling shows, and they were not good. I won't talk about them. It's fine. They weren't from Newfoundland. The only other wrestling I've seen outside of that before I came to the Maritimes was like 2 WWE house shows. So that was pretty cool. But Connors would know more about like the local, how it's different compared to like that time frame.
Before I even knew there was like local wrestling around here, I didn't understand that Real Action Wrestling was technically local wrestling. I thought it was like a big, sister company of WWE coming through, because they would run an exhibition park and like it would be packed, and it was like, Bobby Roode and Mike Hughes and Peter Smith. I'm like, what? These guys are massive, right? And I had no idea they lived in my backyard. Like, the internet was not really accessible at that point in time. I didn't really know. All I watched was TV, and we found a poster, and we were like, let's go check it. It was like $8. I was like, let's go. So we started, like, God, take me back to those days. But I started going to those shows, and they ran quite frequently at the exhibition park in Halifax. And then I found out that UCW was running in Stryfield, so we all started, my friends and my dad would take us all to this, UCW show. And it still runs at the Stryfield Lions rink, or Stryfield Performance Center. And so we started going to check those shows out. And at that point in time, the crowds were fairly decent because they were kind of bringing in, like, I saw Viscera, see, you know, Rick Steiner, you know, things like that. And at that point in time, I'm like, holy shit. Like, you know, you see Viscera walk out, you're like, that's a house with legs. It's insane. But I didn't understand the wrestling until I got a little bit older, and then we started me and my friends would get into like watching ECW every night on Friday nights. And then I started to understand the structure of what was going on. And then going to the local wrestling again, I was like, okay, this ain't it. But I kept going because it was local wrestling and it was in my face. It's just a different feel. So it does go through its ebbs and flows, regardless of, like, it goes through its low points quite often. But I think it's just because of the Maritime, like, tag that it gets. It's never just like anyone says, oh, it's Maritime Wrestling. It's never North Pro or any other company. It's always, oh, Maritime Wrestling. So if something goes awry somewhere else, it gets like a blanket statement over the whole, like, maritime territory, if you will. So it has changed in a lot of ways, and I think that's just due to the talent giving a shit and wanting to put on those good matches that we always, you know, try to do ourselves. And not saying like we lead by example, it's just we do what we always liked, and, you know, it just worked. And we try to, like, just ensue that same type of thought process of, like, don't wrestle for yourself a little bit. You know, like, just put on some fun.
I said to Chizenko today when I was doing his interview with him, it was, we're not the best wrestlers in the world. We're not the best tag team in the world in regards to knowledge of moves or skills or stuff like that. But god damn it, we know we're entertaining in the ring. We know that we can grab a crowd's attention either because we're hilarious or we can be pricks when we need to be, or like whatever it calls for. But there's just an easiness for us
because we're having fun. We're having fun, and that translates. People see that we're invested emotionally and physically with our whole heart, and they're like, okay, these guys, like, give a shit. You know, they're not just out there for the PO or, you know, snap a couple pictures. It's like the match and the whole atmosphere matters. That whole night, not just your match, that entire fucking night is what matters. And your match is just a small part of that whole night. So, like, we go out and we translate what we feel about wrestling, and that is love for what we do.
And I think that evolution too comes from, you know, in the old days back here, it was like you get a Grand Prix show coming through your town. Like my town, personally, I'm from a town of like 2,000 people. So even in the middle of nowhere, I'm from like more center nowhere.
Right.
Like I'm from like downtown nowhere. So we get one show like every quarterly, right? We get a show quarterly. It'd be totally different guys. It'd be a whole different belt. Like people we'd never seen before. There was no chance to form that connection like you guys just did. There was no storyline to follow. There was all these things that make wrestling fantastic: the storylines, the recurring characters, the people you want to get behind because you can kind of pick your favorites and go. We didn't really get the luxury to do that. So if you didn't get WWE on TV and you didn't get to that one Grand Prix show that happened every summer, you're kind of to your own devices to figure out what you liked, let alone New Japan and all of the other stuff that was a better product at the time anyway. But
like when I found WCW, I didn't even know that was a thing, and I was like, holy shit.
I found out
that was me with TNA, because when I jumped on the TNA train, I couldn't get WWE on my cable package at the time. And I had Spike TV though, and I was randomly looking through, and I was like, "What do you mean?" I didn't even know there was more wrestling on television other than WWE.
Yeah.
Because I was so young at the time. I was like 10, 11 years old. So I was like, well, I can't see Rey Mysterio, so there's no other wrestling on the planet. I just didn't know that there was this whole subculture that existed. And then I turned on TNA, and there's Kurt Angle, there's Booker T, there's all these guys that I know who they are, and who's this AJ Styles guy, and who's this Samoa Joe guy, and it totally kind of opened my eyes to the business and the industry of it, and not just the WWE as a product being called wrestling, because I think that happens a lot.
So you want to bring up you bring up those last two names, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and we'll say Christopher Daniels as well.
Yes.
The three of those, when I got into wrestling, I was one of the only rookies that had a car. And then Connors came around, and he was one of the only people that had a car as well. So we were the runners at all times. So we were the ones when Wrestle Center was hot-shotting like the area and just bringing in all these huge names. We were the ones driving them around. So AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, we got to hang around with, and we weren't buddies with them. We got to sit at the end of the table after the show when it was those three big names talking to each other, telling each other stories, and every now and again they'd look at us to make sure we were listening. We weren't trying to chime in and be like, "Oh yeah, ha 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 ha." The only time we ever spoke was if one of them hit us and was like, "Hey, what do you think?" And we'd be bop 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 and go right back into yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full, sir.
And like that is my generation was more, like I said, the WWE style. But if you ask a lot of people now, I think they point to those kinds of names, especially like indie wrestlers on the scene. There's not as many people that point to just specifically WWE wrestlers. There is more people who are going, no, I watched Ring of Honor, I watched TNA, I watched Dragon Gate, New Japan, and I think it is why you're seeing this resurgence of indie wrestling in our neck of the woods and all over the place. Like it is a territory system almost again in many places. There's an indie per state now. But around here, like, that is what I liked and attracted me to North Pro to even like work with you guys. And you have the regular shows, you have the storylines that continue through. There is people who are built up and the fans know and feel a spiritual connection to. Even the Tide and Boar being your home room, like it feels very put together more so than anything I had seen when I was a kid around here. So that's why I liked it so much. But honestly, sitting at the end of the table with those guys is probably better than any other seminar you could ever go to anyway, right?
100%. And it wasn't just one show. Like that had to be almost like 8 shows, 10 shows worth of like them being around. Not all of them at the same time. Like there was a different combination of them all, but those on top of other people that they brought in, me and Connors were very, very, very fortunate. But we're also the first ones that anytime it was, oh, we need someone to do this and run for and drive those people, boom, hands up, because we knew that if we did that, we got the opportunity, like I said, to sit down. They got to eat.
Yep.
So if we got to go take them to eat, we got to eat too. And like, we want to hear stories. We want to know the things, the ins and outs, and everything, and like the professional side of it all. And like that's why I think really benefited us going forward was when we got to go outside the Maritimes. We knew how to conduct ourselves to a degree, and then when we did that, it just benefited us everywhere we went. And people like us. I don't know why, but people like us. So we just put on. Yeah, I don't know what it is, you know what I mean? But we just get along with like basically everybody. There's like a handful of people that probably don't like us, and they ain't paying our bills, so.
And that's what it is. Whoever pays the bills, that calls the shots, right? If you're paying your own bills, I guess that means you call the shots.
Yeah.
That's the way I always look at it. Like until someone's coming in and coming over my overhead and saying, "Oh, I'll pay your power bill," and then, tell you what to do. Perfect. Yeah. You want to do that, you go ahead. Until you do that, I'm just going to go ahead and do my own thing. But going off that's a really good question, which was what I wanted to bring up. Obviously, you guys are tag team guys now. Was that the intent when you came into this? Was your thoughts to be a tag team guy? Like, who were your influences to get into this business? Because obviously you've stayed longer than many people from around here do. There's not a lot of people from the Maritimes that have a decade-long career. It's an outlier. So something has kept you here, obviously, whether it be the insanity of everybody that decides to get into this business or not. But who were the big influences on this? Even the North Pro project, was there anybody you looked to be like, we want to do it like these guys did?
Oh, man.
I mean, I've always personally loved tag team wrestling anyways, but I think as you're getting into the business or even just watching it, you always dream of being the world heavyweight champion. You want to be that singles, right? It's just, there's always, everyone wants to be a world champion, right? Like, it's just, it is what it is. Yeah. They say if you don't want to be the champion, you do the business. But it's like, I've always loved the aspect of tag team wrestling. You know what I mean? Grew up watching Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles and things like that. That's team aspect. You know what I mean? Like, I played sports. I was always on a team. So to have that extra person to rely on is always, I can't do shit on my own. I need someone else. So it's like so saying that, after I got out of training, we started helping out with IHW at the time. And we drive to like Campbellton from Halifax just to help out. Everyone started asking, like, we were just always at every show. So everyone started asking, oh, you guys a tag team? Are you guys brothers? Are you cousins? Like, what's going on? And Justin was having a few singles matches here and there. So eventually, I had this sketch drawn up as a singles wrestler named Sabotage. And I don't know where it came from. I don't know. I think we just played the Cancer Bat Sabotage song. And it was just like, man, what if this was just like a duo? You know, if we like split the dude into two people. Like, we're already pretty much the same person anyway. So it's like, take that one guy that I drew up, cut him in half, and then the song just kind of, you know, it's like the icing on the cake. I don't know.
I don't know if you remember this. Like, from the beginning, people have not want, like, there's been a handful of people that don't want us to like be a team or to work together, because we work together so goddamn well. We just gel so easily together, and some people don't understand it, I guess. But I remember one time a bunch of us were all gone out for a bite to eat, and it was just before we were still trying to figure out if we were going to be a tag team, if it was, what the name was going to be, all these things. And you hauled me into the vehicle, and you're like, what about this song? And you played Cancer Bats, Sabotage. And I just went, yeah, okay, let's go. That's it. Right then and there, it just clicked for some reason. But in the same night, someone hauled him into someone hauled him into his vehicle. 5 minutes later, like 5 minutes later, maybe, or maybe it was beforehand, but it was in that same time frame.
It wasn't beforehand because I pulled you into the car afterwards and played you the song and told you.
Right, that's good. He told me, yeah. So right before he hauls me into the vehicle and plays this song for me, somebody else hauls him into his vehicle to try to pitch an idea of. Yeah.
Okay. I was supposed to be I was supposed to be a roadie for one of the wrestlers. So I come out, like, set up a microphone in a chair, you know.
That's like whole road dog roadie gimmick, complete ripoff of Jeff Jarrett's.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
And like, it was the way they wanted to introduce him to the crowd, and I was like, I think the tag team's a better idea.
Right?
You said that in such like an exasperated.
Where I thought I could have been like, you know, what if though? What if it works? That didn't last long.
But I just remember, and then like I'd be just looking at him and going, man, you can do what you want to do, and like I'm never gonna, like, you're my homie, and whatever you feel is best for you, I'll support that. I'm down to go on this tag team adventure though. And he's like, oh yeah, no, let's do a tag team. And I think it benefited us. I think it helped us, because the best part about us as a tag team, we're not just a tag team inside the ropes. We think the same, we act the same, like 99% the same. Of course, we have our own little little individual things, but the best part about that is if someone tries to push him, well, it's not just him pushing back.
Yeah. And
So-
it's that's a big thing in this industry, is having people who you can genuinely trust, and you can genuinely turn to on a personal level. Because even in my line of it, where I've just worked mostly backstage on production stuff and have done, mostly broadcasting my entire life, it's still show business. And
Oh, yeah.
it's still difficult to know, like, hey, this guy's really fun to go out for a drink for. This guy's really fun to go out, go to a baseball game, have a bite to eat with. But, how much of the nitty gritty can you really tell them about the personal life and not know that when it comes time for envelopes to be getting handed out, you don't have this guy coming over and being like, yeah, well, this guy said this, or this guy does this, or this guy's that. And it's not easy, especially here. Like, it is still a very interesting subculture of a sport is wrestling, because there is still a lot of kind of like backdoor chicanery going on in certain places, and you tend to try to avoid those places, but at some point in the business it becomes unavoidable.
Yeah, so at some point you always cross paths with people that you're just like, well, this is going to be a one-time thing, I guess.
You know what, though? I find nowadays it's much easier to smell the carny, if that makes any sense. Like, I think social media and just especially people being able to review things and tell you, hey, don't work with this person, it filters out the BS a lot better than it used to be, because
and just getting older. Just getting older and just understanding, like, all right, I've heard this before from a different person, but I've heard it in the exact same way. I know where this is going to go.
I always find that, having to work those shitty promotions or those shitty matches or whatever is valuable in a way. You can't really know how good it is until you know how bad it can be. Not like if it's unsafe, obviously, but like you always have the right to refuse. Even in wrestling, if it's not safe, don't fucking do it.
never.
But
Yep.
if you don't know how bad it can be, you don't know how good it can be or will be. Like, you've got to know both sides. So it's like there's always going to be there's always going to be those shitty little promotions around. They're never going to die. There's always going to be one popping up everywhere, and they're going to show up either with a bunch of money, a wicked looking production, but that's it. Nothing else.
And it does seem like around here too, there is quite a bit of synergy, because around here, most of the promotions talent share. There's playing nice. There's not a whole lot of bad blood, and if there is, it's put aside, because there is this overarching desire for everybody to want wrestling to thrive on the East Coast. Yeah. Which is a thing that unites us all. We all want to do it. Like, as I said before, there's promotions all over in PEI, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia. There's several, in fact, which was a welcome surprise for me when I moved back from Toronto earlier this year, because that was kind of my whole plan, was to come back, see what the scene's like, and help out in any way I can. And I was amazed. I was like, holy, when I left, there was, slim pickings on the branch. And now it's like you're seeing, big stars going to several different promotions, like our guy Rudy Lockhart for North Pro. He's all over the place, and it's great to see, because talent that is that good, that is from this neck of the woods, you almost want them to share that, so that there is somebody waving the flag for us.
100%. You hit it really well. We're saying we're like, there's a lot of promotions here now, and for the most part, everybody works together. They try to like not book on each other's dates, and sometimes it happens. It happens. We've accidentally done it, or when we lost our venue last year, we had to find a new venue, and of course, they're already booked up for the year. So now we've got to pick the dates that they have open. And everybody kind of communicates to a degree to be like, hey, if we're basically using a bunch of the same people, let's try not to And like I said, sometimes it happens and we got to like split the people or whatever, but
yeah, or you know, just put them earlier in the show and they take off to go to the other show.
yeah,
like
if they're close enough to have, we have people, like I've done it myself, do double duty, like go from one town to the next if they're like an hour apart. You just gotta make sure traffic's good.
Yeah, stain your gear and haul ass.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like, it is nice to see that even though there is obviously competition, because everybody wants, you know, their organization to be the one that sells the most tickets. Everybody wants their organization to be the one that gets the most online kind of footprint. It's nice to see that it hasn't devolved into maliciously booking on the same dates. Like, hey, we only want you to work for us. Like, don't go work for these guys. Like, there doesn't seem to be as much of that as I would have thought there would be in kind of this melting pot of organizations that are relatively close, because there's other places that have territories, like in Ontario. There's a whole bunch, obviously, because it's massive. But at the same time, there is a little bit more of that exclusivity. You see guys that are like, no, we just want you to work here. Yeah. Whereas here it is more of a, no, we want these guys to thrive in their little market too. So go and do what you can for them as well. And it only works out for the workers too, because that means more exposure for them. There's more YouTube videos, there's more Instagram hits, et cetera, et cetera.
We've told from the beginning, you can work anywhere you want. We don't care where you work. Choose wisely for your own protection of your own brand, and read into that as however you want. But doesn't mean take every booking that's ever given to you, but go out there, get the experiences. Because like Connor said, even at good shows, you're going to have bad matches. Like, you need to learn and you need to work as many people as you can. That was the one thing that benefited us the most, is we got to get out of the Maritimes as much as we did. And we got to experience all these other different types of companies, productions, rosters, just all these different like melting pots of people, and then we got to bring back all of our experiences back to the Maritimes. So like that was a fun experience.
And now that you guys are kind of leaning more into the production side of things, you guys are owning North Pro Wrestling out of Moncton, New Brunswick. That's the baby. Obviously, this area, there's a subculture, there's people that are there, there's fan bases. What is it about North Pro that we think that we can break through with it? Why is this one the one that can go bigger, better, faster, and farther than anybody else, and that can really kind of put this area on the map? Because if it does, then all of those wrestlers that wrestle for all of those other companies and all of those other shows, they get put on the map as well. Because I do think that, well, we did have a Rene Dupree. Every once in a while, there's somebody out there that goes and does something, but I don't think there's been that one organization, that one star, that one huge thing out of any of the Maritime provinces for some time now. And if there is, I'm not aware of it. So why now do you think is this kind of indie resurgence happening in this part of the world, and why is North Pro the one that can kind of fix the doldrums it's been in for so long?
The internet and Netflix have popped off wrestling in a way that before never could. Now the internet, like in a lot of people's views, like the internet broke kayfabe. Okay, I ain't gonna argue that at all. It definitely didn't help it. And then you get into this era where like Netflix picks up WWE, and now you've got mothers and, you know, grandmothers and all these people in between that don't normally watch wrestling that are like, oh, I saw Roman Reigns on, because she's skipping through to there, or like, you know, one of the kids are going through and they're trying to find something and wrestling pops up, or, you know, Uncle Jim is there and he's scrolling through and now he's into wrestling because he couldn't find a show but wrestling popped up. So now there's like this resurgence of everybody and their grandmother, like I said, is into it. Everybody can watch it. It's not you have to go to the shows, go to the live shows. That's where you're going to have the most fun. But now it's the accessibility that's helped it grow. And now you have this new generation. And there's a catch-22 to it as well, where there's this instant gratification need and they want it, need it right away. And then there's a desire to want to perform. And it's like, well, now you need to understand that you can go out there and just do everything your first shot and go out and hit every move that you can and do everything like that. Or we can slow it down a little bit, let the crowd digest everything, still do fast, fun spots, but it doesn't need to be gas pedal down the entire match. And that's the one thing that I love seeing the new guys come through. They want to go, and they realize about 6 months in, oh crap, I can't run this. Like, I can't run. Like, you have to understand what psychology is to be able to make everything mean something. And that we're very fortunate in that regard, where we've worked with some amazing people in the Maritimes, outside the Maritimes, that just, you think you start understanding wrestling, and then you work with this one person, and then you, oh no, I didn't understand wrestling. Yeah, there's like, oh yeah, there's that other branch. Okay, like, you know, low key, there's always these different branches that can go, because like it's infinite. So like, the one thing that helps, sort of rambling off on this, but the one thing that helped us understand wrestling more, because we're such movie like fanatics and comics and everything, is a lot of the movies we've loved growing up, either they're good movies or bad movies, whatever, but the ones that have been really stuck to us, a lot of them were written from the end and then worked their way back. We start going to promoters and start going, what's the finish? What do you need as the finish? And they tell us, and then now there's only so many ways to get to that part. Instead of just four of us, instead of me and Connors going meeting these two strangers going, what do you want to do? Well, there's an infinite possibility of what we can do. Like, how do we start? But if we know what the end game is, we know exactly what the promoter wants. Well, there's only so many. There's definitely a lot of ways to get there, but there's only so many ways to get there. And now we can start branching off backwards with less branches to confuse us.
And that's kind of, I think, what I saw when I went to my first North Pro show as well. You could tell there was just a lot of that tight storytelling. And there wasn't a lot of filler, and there wasn't a lot of just getting shit in for the sake of getting shit in, I guess is the best way to describe it. Because there is a lot of spot fests out there. There is a lot of wrestling you can watch, especially on YouTube, because it is, you hit the nail right on the head. Social media and instant gratification has made it so it's a catch-22, just like you said. It's an if you build it, they will come situation.
Yeah.
But anybody can build anything and put it out there, which I do think is a detriment. In many ways as well, because for every one really good, really solid, really tight card that you get on a regular basis from a wrestling show, you have 50 out there where it's just backyard wrestling basically glorified, which doesn't really help anybody. It's unsafe workers, and it almost gives the rest of the stuff you can find for free online a bad name, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
Even though everybody there, I'm sure, is trying their best, and it's no knock on any of the workers, but it's just, you have to think it through. You have to have that end goal. You have to have the product in mind for what you want to build going forward, and not just this 15-minute window that you have right now.
Yeah. We love that we've went from being able to like have like fulfilling our like desire to put off good matches 15 minutes. We've gone from being able to do that to now we get to book 2.5 hour long shows where now we're not even wrestling, and we get to step back and watch our homies have a good time, and we still interact like with matches, you know what I mean? Like, we are still a part of the show. It's still like, it was joked that when we took over the company it was going to be the Sabotage show and all of it Sabotage, and it's not. We've wrestled less now that we own the company, but we're integrated more into the company now, so now we can have these interactions with the rookies and we're as owners, so we get to be the, hey, listen, like, you can be pissed off at us, but you still got to do what we tell you to do. Like, if you want to be a part of this company, if you want to do these things, and that's what we get to portray in front of the fans. That's the thing that we get to portray in front of the fans. Behind the scenes, it's a team effort. Everybody has an input. everybody. We go to the talent and go, hey, this is our idea for you for the next 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, whatever it is. Here's the end game that we need from you. How would you get there? Because I don't know what your style, I don't know what I get your style, or I get you what your moveset is, but how would you get there? And then most times it's their idea molds our finish. We know how we want it. We know what the finish needs to be for us to be able to make that person go here and this person go there and then move this person there and then be able to like interject all these other people. But I'm Justin Newhook. I'm going to kick, punch, and throw, not even like, I'm just going to throw you across the ring and stomp the shit out of you. That's how I'm going to get the job done. That's how Connors is going to get the job done. But that's not, that's not how Ricky Mortis is going to get things done. That's not how Dawson's going to get things done. That's not how the Highlight Heathens will get things done. We all have a different mindset. So it's when everybody shows up, and even not even just show days, I'm talking with everybody all the time. Like, it does get exhausting to a point, and not in a bad way, but it's like Connors puts his phone on mute a little bit and then gets the report back from me, or he'll go into the conversation afterwards and then like get the gist of everything.
That meta AI briefing thing that just gives you like the synopsis of like 72 messages.
The man's getting cliff notes on his own.
Yeah.
2026 is what he's doing.
Well, because we were in a conversation with a group chat with AWOL, and I said some things. It was like a shadow agency. There was 4 of them. What we were saying, I was just talking to them, and Connors just popped in out of nowhere, said a couple of things, and bounced again. And then I was like, I jumped back in and was like, okay, so Connors ain't mad at all. Neither one of us are mad because there wasn't a situation to be mad about. But Connors never really talks in a group chat. So if he does jump in, they're like I got a message from them privately outside the group chat. It was like, is Connors mad? Like, no. He had some time to actually.
That's just how he operates.
Yeah, he just jumps in, says what he got to say, and jumps back out.
I believe the kids on the internet call that a lurker. I think that's what the technical term for that is. But no, you see that too with like asking everybody how they would get to the end, because you're right, it's very easy. And I haven't seen it as much as people let on, because in most of the organizations I've been involved with, there is a wrestler in charge, and nobody has really done the avenue of like, well, everyone's just going to do everything my way, and that's how we're going to do it. It doesn't often go that way. But what I liked about North Pro is that if you're a fan of any kind of wrestling, and if you go to one of the shows, you're going to see it. You guys have trio stuff, there's hardcore stuff, there's the technical stuff, and you're right. You can tell that there is okay, well, how would you do this? Like, you guys work your match, and you guys figure it out. And it's interesting. I have to go back. A while ago, you mentioned Kayfabe being killed by the internet. I always love getting people's opinions on this in the industry, because I personally think Kayfabe was fabricated by the wrestling industry itself. I think most fans for a long time have known, like maybe back in the 1940s when it was scientific and being done at carnivals.
I think up until the 80s.
Yeah,
up until the 80s. Yeah,
I did too, but it's always still blurred. That's what I consider kayfabe. It's like everyone knows the curtains pulled back, but man, that punch fucking connected, didn't it?
Like who?
Right?
That's what I think kayfabe means. Kayfabe to me means the suspension of disbelief. We've talked about it before. Like, I don't care what era it is, whether it's like Bruno Sammartino doing an airplane spin, whether it's Hulk Hogan doing the atomic leg drop, or whether it's Jamon Evans doing a number of rotations thought unknown by the human eye on live television, right? I think it's once you get to that point where I'm a grown 30-year-old man, I'm sitting in front of my screen, I'm aware of what I'm consuming, right? But when the Undertaker's gong hits, you feel it. That is very real. And that's what I think kayfabe means to me. I don't think the jury has ever been out on what most people think kayfabe is. I don't think the curtain call was as big of an explosive event. I think most people at that point especially kind of knew and were in on the bit. But that's what kayfabe means to me. I think kayfabe is still very alive and well, because there are some people out there that can do things that make people not care
Yeah.
about what they're watching.
I think you're right. Like you said, like they saw it for the first time. Like they always kind of knew, like, okay, well, they probably figured this stuff out back, but to see it visually at like such a world venue too, the Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
You know, I had thousands of eyes watching these enemies hug. Like everyone kind of knew, but to see it like for the first time was kind of like, oh shit, right? But
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was Leo or Laney Poffo or somebody, but they were telling me like back when they were wrestling, and of course they're best friends with the guy they're beating up all around the loop and stuff. Like they work together all the time. So one of them were at the gym with their opponent, the guy that they were supposed to be hating on. The garage door was open in the gym. A couple fans walked by, and without thinking, because the fan's like, hey, and as he's pointing to go, why are you two hanging out, the heel just hauled off and punched the baby face in the face. Just full whack, and it just dropped. Like, now I'm glad it doesn't I'm glad it doesn't exist like that anymore, because like we got shit on. There was one show we got bitched out at. We're heels at the show. We just finished up bloodying up somebody. I can't remember if it was an opponent or if it was opponent's family member or something of the sort, or a fan or something. We ended up busting somebody open. And after the show is done, me and Connors go aside, and there's a family that love us. They just genuinely love us, and we love them. And we've watched their kids grow up. And at the time, their kid was, my God, 2 or 3, maybe a little bit older than that, maybe like 4 or 5 or something. But he wanted a picture. Okay, show's done. Like, we done our job. If that kid isn't terrified of me, I'm happy with that, because that means he wants to come back. Because the last thing I want to do is I want to make a grandmother swing at me in the crowd. I've had it happen. But when the show's done, I want everyone to go, okay, like, understand that it's done now. And then I don't want to ruin some kids. If I was a jerk to that kid, or Connors was a jerk to that kid, and he never wanted to come back to a wrestling show ever again, then, you know what I mean? Like, there's levels to it, and there's ways to be heels. I genuinely think MJF is one of the best performers, wrestlers, entertainers, everything combined into one. He brings back a lot of the old school aspects of being a heel, where it's not like, one of my favorite things that he does is, and like, I don't care. He brought back like taking pictures with kids, and then he'll put the L in front of the kid's face, calling him a loser without anybody knowing. And then of course,
never smiles for pictures with anybody, and always has this like air of annoyance to do it. He still does it.
Yep.
But
parent,
he's annoyed to do it.
And the parent sees what he's doing, laughs, gives him a nod, and you see him give him the parent a little acknowledgement as well. But you still can't, like, he's genuinely one of the best at being able to keep kayfabe alive. The only person, like I do. His wife gets to see the real him half the time. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like method acting. A lot of people don't realize, but 100%. It is like method acting, because I'm reminded of the story from the old school ECW days when Sandman took the eye injury, and he straight up wore an eye patch and didn't leave his house for like 9 months.
Yeah,
because it was to keep that kind of going. But I think that MJF is kind of like that happy medium.
Yeah.
Like you said, because at the end of the day, there is that kind of nod to the parent taking the picture of it, just like, you know, we all know what's going on here, kind of thing, without having to be a complete, you know, actual dick about it.
Yeah.
All the time, because I think that will get kind of exhausting if you're having to walk through the airport and everybody that comes up to you, because at that point, especially if you're at his level, That's a globally recognized figure.
Exactly.
So you got to walk around and act like an asshole 24 hours a day, 7 days of the week.
That's why
sometimes you necessarily don't want to. I think that would be its own kind of purgatory.
Yeah, and that's why me and Connors came to the point where it's like, all right, we're just going to be ourselves ramped up to 11. You know what I mean? That cliche Spinal Tap reference that, you know, turn it up to 11, but that's what we did. And then it's either we go out there, and if we're bad guys, then we'll do some other bad things. But that's why, like, my social media, I tried to have like a different character for my social media and everything, and now it's just all blended into one. And I'm very happy with where I'm at in regards to it. I could be a prick and post a promo where I'm cursing out somebody, and then I go up to Cape Breton, shout out East Coast Pro Wrestling, go up there, and I'm their mid-card champion, and I'll go up and I put on the biggest babyface act, but Newhook style, Sabotage style. I'm still going out and high-fiving all the kids and everything like that, and dancing and having a good time, but it's me, because that's who I am. I can't. Old me was a prick. Old me loved being an asshole, and old me felt comfortable living that way all the time. But through therapy and open discussion with your best friends and your partner and everything like that, and realizing that, hey, we all love you, but you can be a prick a lot of the times. Oh shit, that's not a good feeling. Cool. Okay, I need to work on myself. And then as I worked on myself, I'm like, all right, I'll be an asshole when I'm inside the ropes, or if I got a camera in front of me. If I'm walking around somewhere and if some kid sees me, he's going to see Justin Newhook, and whatever he gets that day is the loving, happy guy.
Real life face turns. We're doing face turns in our everyday lives.
Yeah, baby face for life. Baby face for life.
It's interesting though, because like you've got WWE now obviously doing shows that completely pull the curtain back. Yep. Like at this point, like their kayfabe's been burned to the ground, buried, everything there. But it almost seems like the farther into the independent scene you go, the more the old school kayfabe kind of still exists, which I thought very interesting, because like, you know, these guys are getting paid ridiculous Saudi Arabia sums of money. So you would think if anyone would be more apt to keep that kind of going, it would be them. So is there just, there's more money to be made by pulling back the curtain there? Or is there just the passion level on the independent scene that they're like, no, we want to do this correctly, and I want to be my character? And especially when, like you said, it's easy to do when your character is just the person turned up to 11.
Yeah, I genuinely think it's money. It's 100% money, because the more that they can pull back the curtain and make them think they pull back the curtain, you know what I mean? I just watched Unreal season 2, and I watched a couple episodes and stopped, and then I finished it yesterday or the day before, and the scene where they do Rollins' injury, and they openly say it's only going to be the 3 or 4 of us knowing, and everybody else is going to think that you're injured. That's ballsy. That is a ballsy move. But you've got all this money, you can tell this story, you can make this person commit to it, so it's a lot easier. You know what I mean? And there's two different aspects to it. It's WWE and the bigger companies pulling back the production and storytelling side of the curtain. And then with Connors and myself, the reason that we get so much, I want to say it like this, but we get so much love from the fans and we get so much engagement on our social media is because that's who we are. Fans message us all the time. Me, like, again, mostly me, because Connors will just get like the message. I'll get a message, hey, this one said they love you, I miss you, and stuff like that. Or I'm sure he gets just as much messages as I do, but like I talk to a bunch of our fans, and that's helped us throughout our career, so that when we go to a show and they haven't seen us in a while, they haul all their friends over and introduce us, or they just remember us because they remember who we are. And it's worked for us. Other people it doesn't work for. Other people don't want to do it, and that's perfectly fine. Everybody has their own path in this business, and if you try to mimic exactly what somebody else did, or follow what everybody else suggests for you, then it's not going to benefit you. You need to be comfortable in what you're doing, but you also need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So you need to put yourself in those situations of growth and wrestling people that you never thought you'd be able to, or wrestling someone that doesn't have a lot of experience, and now you're the one that has to guide them. Connors and myself, my God, when we first started off, we were the vets. Put that, like, make that make sense. Like, we were wrestling people that had less experience than us as a tag team. And it's like, so then we had to learn really quick how to put together a match in a way that it can't fall apart. If it does fall apart, we can still gain control of it. And then it comes to a point where, hey, what's your comeback? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, now we build comebacks and hope spots and all these things where we can just, it doesn't matter who we face. Oh, it's a bigger tag team. Okay, we do this style. We do these things. Oh, it's some high flyers. Oh, we get to be bases and do this stuff. Okay, cool. But we pride ourselves in being some of the safest wrestlers in the Maritimes, and like some of the best bases in the Maritimes as well. Like,
and I think that shows with the fan base that North Pro kind of has organically. I've been to a few shows now, and I see there's a lot of the same faces in the crowd. You're getting people to come back, and that is such a big part of the battle, is getting that foot traffic to come back. Like,
yeah, and we like when we took over, of course we lost from the previous owners, like those a handful of those people, and then also we lost our venue because of the fire, so we had to go to a different venue, and then it's trying to rebuild all that. But like, we have a core fan base that are dedicated to us, and thankful is an understatement.
Yeah, I can't really put words to it, but it's like the last show that we just had, I did that in-ring promo. I said thank you like 100 times. And I was like, oops. But it's like, I'm so grateful that we have like that core group of people that continue to come back and show support regardless. Like Luke, he was like, if Rudy wins, man, I'm never coming back. He's like, I'm not doing it. Rudy wins the match, fist bump. He's like, bro, what a show. Dude, just trust.
How often do you hear that, though, online and otherwise? Oh, well, if I do this, I'm not watching anymore. Like, right? And you're gonna watch even harder, because there is no watching like hate watching. Yeah. Especially in wrestling, I don't think there's a more dedicated person that will sit down and watch every scrap of stuff you put in front of them than someone that claims they hate the product.
I just can't stand the instant gratification need. Like, we need this, we need that. And it's not even just on an independent level. It is on a wrestling level. It's broad from independents all the way up to WWE. As soon as Raw is over, there's people, why do you do this? Why do you do that? And it's like, you just let the story unfold. Like at the end of every...
Yeah.
I was just going to say there's questions at the end of every episode. It's like, I don't know. Like, the same thing as a movie going through. I don't know yet. Like, let the story unfold. When the story's done, then we can critique things. Then we can say, oh, it should have been this way or it should have been that way. But until everything's unfolded, shut the fuck up.
Let us take you on the ride.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here to do as well. This show, we're going to be taking people on a ride with this show. I think we're going to be covering just a little bit of everything. Today, we did the introductions.
What a segue.
See, this is why you guys brought me on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get you guys everywhere you guys need to.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's the thing. We're going to be talking regular wrestling in general. We're going to be talking the stuff you see on TV. We're going to be doing some advertisements, obviously, for North Pro and talking about the next upcoming shows. It's basically going to be a video diary for three people who really give a shit about this business and about the company that they work for as well. We're going to try to get some interesting guests. We're working on a couple really interesting guests right now for the next couple coming weeks, actually. We're really trying to get going hard on that. But what do you guys see as the vision for this? For the loyal listeners that will come on to the North Pro YouTube channel and see this, what do you see happening with our little corner of the internet?
to give anybody, like, to give people the platform that they want to be able to tell their own story, because at the end of the day, Connors and myself, we're storytellers, and that's what, like, we'll get into, and what this vision of this podcast is going to be. Is that was the question? That's what it was. Yeah, we get there. We always do. We want the podcast to be like, we want to talk about North Pro, and we've got, like I said, we've 12 years and 11 years worth of stories that we want to talk about. There's some stuff that I think now is past the statute of limitations, so like we can talk about some certain things without getting in trouble, and other things that we'll just leave names out, and that's perfectly fine. But it's not the Sabotage show. And that we don't want that to be like, we want to bring on, like you said, we're working on bringing on some cool names, and it is going to be really cool if we can get, when we can get those people. But also, I want to bring on the boys around the Maritimes and give them a platform to be themselves. And because all of our homies have done podcasts, and I've watched their podcasts, and you can see them be very like, yes sir, no sir, robot, and it's like, get them on with us, and we can get them relaxed, and we can get the stories out of them, and we can get the passion out of them, and let them talk. And then also, I don't want it to be just about wrestling. Like I said last night, I want to talk about the fact that Daredevil is leading into Punisher, is leading into Spider-Man, and having my 3 favorite superheroes come together. Like, that's stuff that we need to talk about.
What do you want to talk
That's
about?
why the show is called Sabotage.
Everything. Yeah, I don't know. We always just have like really cool conversations, and sometimes like, conversations need to be kept between parties involved. But we always have conversations that are just like if me and Justin are driving around, we get locked in like this really good conversation, and be like, oh, I wish he was here to the other person was here to like add to the story. You know what I mean? So it's like this corner right here. We can kind of do that where everyone can kind of like be privy to these little conversations that we have, and like how fun it is, and we laugh and joke around, and reminisce, and then talk about future plans, and all those types of things. Like, I don't want to, like, secrets are obviously always going to be interesting, because you kind of need that suspension of disbelief. You need those little carrots to dangle. But there's all sorts of fun things to talk about that some people just don't talk about.
Absolutely.
Or they forget.
And I promise you, Justin, we're going to talk Marvel next week. I will put a segment aside for Marvel next week just for you. But we talked about carrots. Let's pull some carrots up out of the ground. Tell me the next couple North Pro shows. Give me some dates. Give the people what they want. Where can we see this product that we've been hyping up for the last hour? Where can we see this in action?
May 1st, we are coming back to the HRM. We get to go to Burnside at East Coast Barbell, working on having, hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll say it now, but hopefully we get, I'm going to go meet up with the guys at the Burnside Brewery, and they're interested in coming in and selling their product there. We just got to get the licensings down and stuff like that. So that's super awesome. And we're bringing in Jody Threat for that, and Gabriel Fuerza, which I'm super pumped to bring in both of those people. Gabriel is the world-class wrestler, and so is Jody. Jody's one of our homies. One of our shirts has her skateboard on it, because we stole it for the photo shoot when we're at Destiny. So we're very happy that one of the first big names that we get to bring in is one of our good friends as well. So that's super awesome. And then the night after in Bridgewater, we're doing Logan Mania 4. It's for a charity show for Logan McNary and the McNary family. If you do not know that story, or if you haven't followed it, please follow Logan Mania on Facebook, and if you can find it through North Pro, through whatever we've shared, we'll add it onto this podcast as well. That's going to be, it's always we took it over last year. There was a different company that did the first 2, and we took it over last year, and it's become it's only our second year, but it's already like a thing that's like gets us emotional straight out the gate, and yeah, we're very honored to be a part of that. And then in May 15th, we're coming back to Moncton, and we're bringing Jody back because we love her so much. And so we're bringing her back for Moncton. So that's going to be super awesome as well.
Just as big as Jody Threat. That's also going to be the debut of North Pro Commentary. Not nearly as big as Jody Threat. As Jody Threat, international superstar.
It's still a threat in its own way.
Yeah, it is. One of the most well-known, I think one of the most well-known female journeymen right now, like somebody who is everywhere at the same time.
One of the
TNA
best.
Impact all over Canada, like doing great stuff online.
Yeah.
Very excited to be bringing her into the fold here.
One of the best women wrestlers in general. Just love that person, all the pieces. I can't wait. The fact that we get to bring them in twice in the same month in 3 different cities. Like that's one of our goals, is to be able to bring in wrestlers that don't usually get to come here that often. You know what I mean?
Giving back to the scene, just like the name of the show, right? That's the name of the show.
Contributing to the scene.
And that was episode 1, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. Tune in next week. We are going to talk some Marvel, but we are going to talk some wrestling as well. We will always be talking wrestling here on Giving Back to the Scene. Sabotage everything. I am Lyle. That's Justin. That's Connors. We'll see you next week.